Congressman Ted Lieu of California. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Judiciary Committee. Congressman, always good to see you. Thank you for being with us. We were going to discuss Sean Spicer, but I think we have to talk about this. Interesting development. Rex Tillerson gets a meeting with Vladimir Putin at a very, very delicate time on the basis of a meeting with his counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, which apparently didn't go all that well, but took 3 hours. What do you make of this?
I'm pleased that Putin is meeting with Rex Tillerson, but I have to tell you, it's going to be an interesting discussion because the Trump administration has no strategy in Syria. You have Nikki Haley saying we want regime change. You have Secretary Tillerson saying we need the people of Syria to decide if Assad should stay in power. And then you have Sean Spicer saying our policy in Syria hasn't changed. So it's not clear to me what kind of discussion this is going to be with Putin on Syria when the White House itself doesn't have its story straight.
All right. Now, at some point, if there is force involved, this has happened in 2003, you and your fellow members of Congress are going to have to be involved in this. So you must have thought this through to some degree. What, in your opinion, is a strategy that we should be employing in Syria with regard to the refugees, with regard to what Assad does to his own people, with regard to Russia and Iran's strategic interest there, and with regard to ISIS?
If Donald Trump truly cares about the beautiful babies of Syria, he wouldn't ban them from entering the United States as refugees. We need to absolutely make sure that refugees, children, women, senior citizens fleeing Syria need to be able to come to the United States for safe haven. He also needs to come to the United States, the president that is, and seek authorization from Congress before he uses any more military force in Syria. That's what the Constitution demands.
And where do you think people will fall on that? Because the last time President Obama tried that, it didn't work. Congress did not authorize use of force in Syria in 2013.
That's because in a democracy, Congress, under the Constitution, is vested with the war-making powers, and the people, through their elected representatives, decided that Syria was not a critical national security interest. I've yet to see Donald Trump explain to the American people why we're engaged in a civil war halfway around the world. If Donald Trump can make that case, then he can get the authorization.
What's your view of it, though? If it is seen as a civil war, and it's a view that the United Nations takes, does the world or the United States not have a role that involves the military in a place like Syria?
The United States has been in endless war for over a quarter of a century. I think the American people do not want to send in ground troops to Syria. And if you don't have that option, then really you need to resort to diplomacy. I hope there's a peaceful resolution of all the countries involved, but I think sending in a massive number of ground troops would be a very bad idea for
Syria.
Quick
question then. Would you support military action in Syria if it did not involve ground troops? We do have some ground troops in there already, but if it did not involve fundamentally ground troops?
As a veteran, I know we have an awesome military, but it's really stupid to use military force without a strategy. I could support the use of force, but the president needs to come forward with a strategy first.
Representative, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Representative Ted Lieu of California's 33rd District.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.